Welcome to ETEP Wakulians, the place to be reviews. I am Pete, or ETEP, whatever you want to call me. This is the place to be reviews, and right now I am looking at an article that Monica and I covered on the Place to Be Reviews podcast on Monday night, episode 38. Now, we talked about this, why some fans think Disney saved Star Wars. Now, this is an interesting article. This is by Julia Zerilli. I don't really know many fans who think outright that Disney saved Star Wars, but this article seems to imply just that. We're going to read through this because I have... This is going to be a little bit different long-form video here. So this is actually pretty, got some good information here, but not from the perspective of the article. So we're going to kind of buzz through this. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is just around the corner. Still, fans have mixed opinions about the sequel trilogy. Some fans think that Disney added life back into the Star Wars universe. Thanks to Disney's touch, Star Wars has become its own immersive experience with the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. An original Star Wars television series premieres on Disney+. Here's why some Star Wars fans think Disney saved the franchise. Disney acquired Lucasfilm before the sequel trilogy premiered. Well, of course they did. October 30th, 2012, Disney changed Star Wars forever when Disney acquired the franchise for $4.5 billion. As one of the biggest companies in the film industry, Disney created their own extension of this universe, complete with multiple television shows. Now, we know at this point that Disney already has owned Marvel since 2009 upon buying Lucasfilm in 2012. So, but Marvel was not quite the IP that it cinematically it is now, with Endgame rapidly closing in on Avatar for the highest grossing film of all time, especially with the re-release this weekend with the extended cut. Since it acquired Lucasfilm, Disney created their own Star Wars-based television series, Star Wars Rebels, which aired on Disney XD. I've never really seen much of that show, just clips on YouTube. Disney also created the sequel trilogy to the original Star Wars movies. The first movie in the trilogy, Star Wars The Force Awakens, premiered in 2015. It quickly became one of the highest grossing Star Wars films of all time. And that is what we're going to go into right here with the Disney Star Wars, just the financials. Okay, so Star Wars Force Awakens, of course, the first film under the Disney umbrella to come out. That film commanded, let's go over here to this. This is all the movies, Star Wars movies, sans Solo. I don't think I put Solo in there. I should have left Last Jedi off, except for, had it not been for this beautiful number right here on The Last Jedi, which this, if you look at The Force Awakens, okay, 87, 44, okay, you've got Revenge of the Sith, 66, which I think is really low for that one. Attack of the Clones, 56. It seems it's not good, but it's not. I don't think it was like horrible. I think that should be at least a 60. This one should be well over 60. I don't know, but this right here is my favorite. It's not only Star Wars movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. So, but anyway, so Force Awakens. Opening weekend, it made $247,966,675 for domestic gross total of $936,662,225. Foreign gross $1,131,561,399. Worldwide total $2,068,223,624. All on a production budget $245 million. It was released in 4,134 theaters. It closed on June 2nd, 2016. It was in release for 168 days or 24 weeks. So, yeah, you can see that that one made a lot of money. And followed that with where's it at here? Let's see. I didn't put that's what it was. I didn't put Rogue One on here either. because I was only going with the prequels, the originals, and then the shit trilogy. I mean, the sequel trilogy. But Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, that's the only Star Wars movie that I truly like. That one was at 155,081,681 opening weekend domestic gross, $532,177,324 foreign gross, 523,800 or 523,879,949 worldwide total, 1,056,057,273. So even Rogue One cracked $1 billion on a production budget of $200 million. 4,157 theaters released. Closed May 4th, 2017. It was in release for 140 days and 20 weeks. And that brings us to the abortion that was The Last Jedi. The opening weekend, of which I was one of these people, unfortunately. I had a ticket bought for me, and I went with a coworker who asked me if I'd like to go, because he knew I collected action figures. So I decided to join him. And this was opening weekend, $220,009,584. Domestic gross, $620,181,382. Foreign gross, $712,358,507. Worldwide total, $1,332,539,889 on a production budget, $317 million. Released in 4,232 theaters. It closed April 19th, 2018, my 38th birthday. And it was in release for 126 days, 18 weeks. That movie was the most disgusting pile of shit I've ever sat through in a theater in my life, and I was miserable the entire time. I hated it. And then let's talk about the little engine that couldn't. The first victim of the boycott, Soylo, A Soy Wars Story. Opening weekend, $84,420,489. Domestic gross, $213,767,512. Foreign gross, $179,157,295. Do you see a huge differential here? Worldwide total, $392,924,807 on a production budget of $275,000. Yeah, that's a very slim profit margin. This was the first movie to lose money when you figure in the total cost of all the reshoots, too, over and above the production budget. Released in 4,381 theaters. Closed on September 20th, 2018, 119 days, 7 weeks. So on the film side, it would seem financially that outside of Soylo's debacle, that the films are financially successful, yet the audience is more divided than ever. And The Last Jedi's Rian Johnson, yes, that smug moonface art house asshole who finds some odd satisfaction with harassing the detractors of his entry in the saga, which is the lowest rated by audience approval in the entire cinematic mythos. Yet, like another universally maligned piece of canon owned by the House of Mouse, Captain Melville, The Last Jedi remains highly protected by its own weird, sycophantic defenders who consistently fall back on the NPC like scripted insults. Such as what? Neckbeard, Russian bot, alt-right troll, racist, sexist, bigot, misogynist, homophobe, basement dweller, proud boy, incel, Trump supporter, man baby, pathetic, fanboy, white supremacist. Those are basic insults that you will be called if you say you don't like The Last Jedi. Yeah, that's what you get from these people who defend so ardently and vehemently defend this movie, and they're prepared to die on the hill of Rian Johnson, whose main accomplishment is that the movie Looper is under his belt. Yeah. Upon review, the type of people who have the proclivity to wield such abusive and accusatory language against a complete stranger online simply because they have a difference of opinion regarding an objectively bad, The Last Jedi, yet financially successful film due to its progressive narrative and overarching themes, they, more often than not, fit some of the descriptive insults they are so fond of hurling at others. Uh, yeah, but this simply is what it's like on a daily basis as someone who doesn't like or care for Disney's take on the Star Wars mythos. But can we go so far as to say that Disney saved Star Wars? That would be a stretch of epic proportions. Despite what the balance sheets on the cinematic side would have you believe, but we in the fandom menace refuse to accept a garbage tier product with husks dressed up in flashy costumes that have less depth than a puddle on level concrete. We can start with the movie that started it all, The Force Awakens, which was, by the numbers, a carbon copy of A New Hope, but it failed on the emotional levels at every turn that its predecessor achieved handily. The Force Awakens was trying to be something that it wasn't, and it couldn't be. And that was original and inventive. Before you go throwing it's a clear financial success at me, at one point people bought pet rocks and Ford probes. And at one point too, Titanic, a movie that everyone knows the ending to, made over $2.2 billion also. So let's just keep things in perspective. And speaking of perspective, that leads us to Rey. Rey was and is an uninteresting, overpowered character who was automatically the best, strongest, fastest, and bestest ever at every undertaking. And everyone else around her was automatically inferior by proxy. Lest we forget that she fixed the Falcon when Han had no idea. She bested Kylo Ren, a trained Force user with a lightsaber, was hitting stormtroopers from a considerable distance with a blaster after never having fired one before, flying the Millennium Falcon almost expertly, also operating the gun and pulling off a shot, destroying multiple TIE fighters with a single shot, easily besting the Praetorian Guards in the throne room duel scene in The Last Jedi, so you can see where this is going. Daisy Ridley personally seems like a lovely woman, personable and warm. Unlike the other Mary Sue OP character's actress, who reeks of smug, Brie Larson. But I digress. Our dislike for Rey has less to do with her gender and more to do with the fact that she isn't automatically a master at everything she does and is completely unbeatable all the time. If they attempted to mirror the journey of Luke Skywalker, the hero's journey, and recreate it, albeit with a female lead, would make her automatically better from the gates because she's a woman, they have succeeded. And now we're to blame because we don't care for or about her. So as we have, I'm just going to leave this image of Chewbacca on the screen while I keep, going through this. Now, let's go this right here. It says fans have mixed opinions about movies like Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Not everyone loves the sequel trilogy. With Star Wars: The Last Jedi, the Star Wars movies welcomed their first female Asian lead character, portrayed by Kelly Marie Tran. After the movie premiered, the actress was bullied by Star Wars fans to a point where she deleted her social media platforms. That is simply a lie, and plenty of articles and research have gone into disproving that and debunking that theory. And it was completely disproved. She quit social media just because she wanted to quit social media. The same reason Daisy Ridley did, because she thought it was toxic. And it wasn't people from the people who didn't like The Last Jedi. A very small amount of people who didn't like The Last Jedi actually went after Kelly Marie Tran, because just because we didn't like the character doesn't mean we're going to go after the actress, because we have the common sense to differentiate between fact and fiction. And speaking of Rose Tico and Kelly Marie Tran, the supporting characters are just as boring, but far more flawed than our main protagonist. Obviously, because Rey's perfect. So if this is Disney's saving Star Wars, please let it die. I don't have the time or energy to discuss the single most offensive piece of trash that I have ever laid eyes on. Of course, I speak of none other than the cinematic abortion that was The Last Jedi. Solo was the victim of the boycott and backlash from The Last Jedi. And then Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, and Roundhead Rian Johnson doubled down with their treatment of fans who didn't like The Last Jedi and its aftermath, an aftermath that we are still in the wake of over 500 and some days post-release. Rogue One is the only acceptable and passable cinematic entry by Disney, because it's basically a war movie, and we knew how it would end, but they gave us some cool supporting characters, a great villain and director Krennic played by Ben Mendelsohn, Alan Tudyk brilliantly portraying K2SO, Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor were not very compelling as leads, but better than we've gotten from any other Disney Star Wars film to date. Plus, we got the Vader scene at the end, but that was a reshoot. But it was still kind of cool to see angry, violent Darth Vader. Kind of like Darth Vader in the comics, flipping onto the screen. But it was difficult to believe that Cassian Andor, played by Diego Luna, is getting his own spin-off show on the upcoming Disney Plus streaming service, because do we really need more Cassian Andor? The Mandalorian is the only show that has truly piqued my interest, knowing that you're getting Pedro Pascal, Gina Carano, and Nick Nolte. Plus, Carl Weathers is at least a bit enticing, considering the lore of the planet is quite interesting, and also one of my favorite parts of the Clone Wars show. And speaking of the Clone Wars show, that will be available on Disney Plus along with Star Wars Rebels, and in all likelihood Star Wars Resistance, which was too cringe-inducing for me to sit through more than 4 episodes. Please spare me. It's for kids' excuse, because that is tired, that is a trope, and it's not applicable to a show that airs at 10 p.m. on Sunday nights. Or are you implying that because the target demographic is children, it's allowed to be objectively bad? Go ahead and think about it. I'll wait. They won't have the rights to all the movies yet, but in a few years they'll be available on their service, and Disney seems to be hedging their bets with the impending Hulu buyout looming. So this is I don't see this as them saving Star Wars. I'm kind of just breaking this down as best I can here, and let's look at this. Some fans love what Disney created with the extension of the Star Wars universe. Some say that this movie added to the story of Luke Skywalker, who is now Jedi Master. This is so ridiculous. This person doesn't sound like they know anything about Star Wars. Whether it's just for fun or by accident or for research, especially research because I'm supposed to be goal-oriented, I always get distracted by The Last Jedi and can't stop watching it wherever I may land in it, says one Twitter user. And I never fail to utter at some point, God, I love this movie. And I looked at this profile's been deleted. And this one right here, this Finn Fett, is a real profile with over 1,000 some followers. So it doesn't have a little cute certified blue check mark. But man, I used to hate The Last Jedi. I really disliked it. But over the past year and a half, hearing people talk about its themes and admiring its visuals, cinematography, music, etc., I've really come to love it. It's probably my second favorite behind Revenge of the Sith now. It is Star Wars, said another Twitter user. Ugh. That's so cringy. God, I love this movie. These people are just like, yeah, this guy is a shill. I mean, so merchandise. Let's talk about that a little bit here, because Last Jedi, the toys. Unfortunately, my kid got given some of the toys, and they're not that great. The characters. The only good thing about any of these figures is the First Order, like the Stormtroopers. Those are like your army building figures, and I'll get to that here in a minute. The merchandise that's self-explanatory is witnessed by the plethora of world-class bullshitters videos that show tons of sequel trilogy merchandise rotting in alleys and other wholesale stores and bodegas. I have a local one that I go into in search of specific figures, namely Rogue One Imperial troopers of any kind, as I am an army builder and I have no problem paying money to a third-party retailer who has already bought and paid for the merchandise. That way, I'm not paying Disney. But my own habits aside, the merchandise portrayals of the new characters, they just don't sell. Seriously, I can post videos of dozens of Rey and Jyn Ersos on the shelf the next time I'm at the bodega, because last time I counted at least a dozen Rays, I think, and there was like 7 or 8 gin Ursos. And this is 2 different small stores. There was a merchandise outlet and this little Chuck Save bodega. Um, and the only figure that was left on the shelf at my local Walmart last time I was in there, what do you think it was? It was Alden Pecker with his Soilo. Not Solo, but Soilo, because Alden is and was an ineffectual, weak beta male who couldn't come close to being Han in his own film. But that is what Disney is all about now. They launched Galaxy's Edge to showcase the sequel trilogy, yet the main attraction is the Smuggler's Run ride featuring the Millennium Falcon. So much for stocking your own products, right? The park setting is a new planet instead of using a familiar fan favorite. Bold move, Disney. Let's see if it pays off. Early reports say the park is not worthy of the hype. Typical overpriced merchandise. Food, lines are going to be the general theme here. The food, there's like the $75 beer platter. The food is not good. You can get the blue and green milk. It's just like a soy-based milk. Yeah. And there's a potential to spend $25,000 at the Droid Shop building a fully functional R2-D2. What about BB-8? So in short, it's going to be a typical Disney park experience where you're better off picturing yourself in the commercial because the actual vacation will be overrated and overpriced. And the article says, with Disney and Lucasfilm's partnership, fans can experience Star Wars in real life, blah, blah, blah. You can read this right here. It's just basically a plug for Galaxy's Edge and Rise of Skywalker. So to add it all up, you have a mixed bag of films that, while financially successful, have managed to divide your audience. Hi, Ray. Because you allowed an art house hack to inject subversion into the galaxy far, far away. Toys that don't sell, a forthcoming streaming service that may or may not be able to stream your tentpole films, and a staff at Lucasfilm who President Bob Iger allows to continually insult the customer base because we reject the product that they lay before us. I saw Return of the Jedi in theaters. I was 3 years old, and all I can remember was the spectacle and excitement of it all. Going back later and watching the entire original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, I can still say that I enjoy every one of those 6 films enough that I don't need to see another Star Wars movie ever, and the journey is complete for me. Anything from this point on that Disney lays is a corporate cash grab and milking the once greatest IP of all time for every last dime. Episode 9's release looms near as December 29, 2019 is rapidly approaching. I don't want to think about snow as I sit here with the windows open. And this could make or break Star Wars cinematically. Even with the announced Benioff and Weiss trilogy upcoming in alternating release years with the forthcoming Avatar series of 4 movies that no one wanted, Disney isn't saving what we once loved. They're defiling the corpse of our once beloved IP, much to the chagrin of us, the fandom menace, the fans who actually spend money on the products, which is witnessed in any toy collector stream you will see with people from the fandom menace in it. We're the ones that spend the money. It's not these weirdos they're trying to attract with these films and these identity politics and Kathleen Kennedy's General Vice Admiral Gender Studies Holdo characters. I was a huge Star Wars fan, and this is the thing that bothers me is my dad and mom were able to take me to see a Star Wars movie in the theaters. Now, could I take my son to see Star Wars in the theaters? Absolutely, I could. He's almost 4, so he's getting to the age where it's feasible for me to take him to a movie theater for him to watch a movie. And my local theater has a room that it will facilitate young viewers. So, will I take him to see Star Wars in the theater? Absolutely not. There's nothing redeeming about these. He likes the prequels and the original trilogy. Darth Maul and Darth Sidious are 2 of his favorite characters. There's really nothing to be gleaned from we're collectors. There's nothing to be gleaned from any of this new stuff for us. We have six of the great movies. And yes, I'm calling the prequels great because in one respect or another, they are. Attack of the Clones gave us a lot of clones. And Ewan McGregor saves every movie he's in as Obi-Wan. So there's so much, and Count Dooku, of course. So there's so much to be gleaned from the prequels and of course the original trilogy. So Disney is not saving anything. They are just taking advantage of a property that they own and have no respect for. So before I go any farther about this, check out our podcast on Anchor, iTunes, and Spotify, The Place to Be Reviews. You can follow us on Twitter at The Place to Be Reviews. Also, The Place to Be Reviews on Instagram. The Place to Be Reviews on Facebook. Go like the page, interact with some of our fans. Also, you can email me, theplacetobereviews@mail.com. Subscribe, hit that bell notification so you're alerted every time a video is uploaded. That's it. That's all I got for you. Listen to us on the podcast. We will be back Wednesday night. There'll be a new episode 39. We'll be streaming by 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're watching this in the future, go on over to Anchor, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean. Check out The Place to Be Reviews. Give us a favorite. Leave us a voice message. Just say hello. I'm Pete. This has been The Place to Be Reviews. I'll be back soon with another video. Hey, have a great night and a pleasant tomorrow.